standards, right education system.
I'm the former Frankie.
But the Northwest pass, we really need somebody different.
Your career, you're used to winning. Life, it was everything to us. 7 or 8 weeks of two-a-days.
They really made me appreciate
We're allowed to win.
he was coming in and we'd be shooting the whole time.
Let's go back real quick to the Enid Walk of Fame.
Of course, we have training in confined space.
Legitimate maybe to know a little more.
A good safety tip on that, Steve.
Putting a hat on and getting out there and doing the job.
The television model that you watched growing up.
Houston, this is the International Space Station.
City Connections begins right now.
Hello and welcome to City Connections. I'm Steve Kime. Thank you for joining us once again. We have a very special program today. If you have a driver's license and you see the little red heart on your driver's license, or if you've seen an individual with a red heart, we're here to talk about the significance of the little red heart. We have an individual here that's very familiar with Enid, Oklahoma. Her name is Nita French, and Nita is part of LifeShare Transplant Donor Services of Oklahoma. So, Nita, welcome all the way from Oklahoma City.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
kind of coming home. You said before we got going this morning, you had such a connection to Enid with family and friends, and you were born where?
I was born at St. Mary's Hospital right
Boy,
here in Enid.
Just a couple blocks away.
Yes.
You came back. So, well, welcome back to Enid. Tell us again about your connection. You said you grew up in...
I grew up in
Jet,
Jet,
okay.
Oklahoma, that great big town up north.
Yeah,
So
huge.
yes. So I have a lot of family in this area. My sister teaches here in Enid, and it's just kind of good to be back to this place that I spent
Okay.
so much time growing up.
Well, welcome home, and I had no idea that you were just born just down the street, so it's good to come back. Okay, LifeShare Transplant Donor Services of Oklahoma. People are familiar with the term LifeShare, but maybe not so much that long title with it, and there's a lot of individuals that have that little red heart on their driver's license. So tell us what LifeShare is all about.
LifeShare is the organization for Oklahoma that recovers organs and tissue for transplant. Every state in the nation has an OPO, or organ procurement organization, that services their area, and LifeShare services all of Oklahoma. All 77 counties, all 145 hospitals have an agreement with us to help us save lives through organ and tissue donation.
It's interesting. So you said every state has an organization.
Yes.
Okay. So your role at LifeShare here, and your office is based in Oklahoma City,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So your role with the organization is what?
I am the community educator. So I get to go out to every county in Oklahoma and share how this all works. Give people the myths and the facts and make sure that people understand what it is that we do and the great need for people to register to help save lives.
Before we get to the point for you to tell your personal story, can you just kind of give us a brief synopsis? How does this work?
Wow, that's a hard question, Steve. So if you register to be an organ and tissue donor.
That's where you start.
Yes, that's where you start, and then you are deemed to not be able to live anymore, not be able to
Okay.
leave the hospital. Your life essentially is over. Then you have the opportunity to donate your organs and tissue to save lives. So if you are registered and something happens, then we would talk to your family and let them know that you were registered and kind of what was going to happen as far as your organs and tissue being recovered.
So you're on this database list, and the hospital will know, and then you have that conversation with the family?
The
or-
hospital actually doesn't know.
Okay.
Hospitals are required to contact LifeShare anytime they have an imminent death or a
Okay.
death. So when they contact us, then we have people that go to the hospital, review the chart, and then are able to look onto the database and see if the person was registered. Because we approach the family either way. If you are registered, then we will inform your family, if they don't already know, that you'd made that decision. And the great thing is that if somebody maybe hasn't gotten around to registering, just maybe didn't think about it, we still talk to the family and we're able to ask them, do you think this is maybe something that they would have wanted to do? And oftentimes the family will make the decision even though their loved one wasn't registered, and that person can still save many lives through being a donor.
I personally don't recall how many years that I've had the red heart on my driver's license, but I was just always, through the years, impressed or appreciated that here within the U.S., we have that opportunity for individuals to receive an organ, if you will, but also to donate as well. So it's just a great organization, and I appreciate you being here today to share about LifeShare. Part two is You have a real special connection to what being a recipient of an organ is all about. So tell us your story, if you would, Nita.
I do. It's very amazing for me to be able to work for LifeShare. My boss says I'm the poster child for this organization because 16 years ago I received a kidney and a pancreas and have been able to live an amazing healthy life because of those gifts. I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was a child, and I struggled with that disease up until I was in my 20s, and then found out that I was having some complications. I had to have laser surgery on my eyes and found out that I was in kidney failure. I had a baby right after I found out that I was in kidney failure and was only able to carry her 25 weeks because I was so sick. So she weighed 18 ounces. And shortly after I had her, that was when I was told that I would need a transplant in order to survive. So from the time that they told me I'd need a transplant, I waited 3 years. I was on dialysis for 19 months of that. And then a man that I never met had made the decision to be an organ donor, and when he was not able to survive his fatal injury, he was able to save my life and 6 other people through the gift of his organs. So because of that gift, I have had, like I said, 16 years of health. I've been able to get married, and I've actually had 3 more successful pregnancies, so I have 4 children. And I am able to now pay back my gift by working at LifeShare and sharing my incredible story.
It's just amazing the story that you're sharing, and then again the future for you, the opportunity for you and your family. When I was visiting your website, there are other stories, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there were stories of individuals that have been donors or stories of individuals that have received an organ in that. Are there both? I just remember reading story after story after story. I guess you would call them success stories, but how they were given another chance at life because someone donated their organs.
Yes, and like you said, we share both sides of the story because it's very important for people to understand how this works on both sides. People don't realize that the donor family also is given a very large gift because of the donation that their loved one has given. You know, we have so many family members that say the only thing that got me through my incredible grief was knowing that my loved one was living on in other people. So it's actually very healing for these families. It's always a tragic accident. These deaths you don't know that they're coming, and so there's an accident and you aren't ready to say goodbye. And many times people say, I just needed something good to come from that, and then being able to donate is what they can find good in the situation, and they get so much joy from knowing that their loved one is living on. I have been able to meet my donor family, and my donor's mother said she could not find a way out of her grief, and she just couldn't quit crying. And then she got a letter from me and realized that he hadn't died in vain. He had saved all of these people. And so his family has gotten to watch me do so many things since my transplant and just be able to live a healthy life. And it's been healing for both of us.
And that's a great lead into one of my questions, and I didn't want it to be too personal of a question, but it was simply did you get to meet, you know, the family of the donor? And you just said that you did. So our special guest today on City Connections is Nita French. Nita is from Oklahoma City with the group LifeShare. And again, if you're familiar or you see the graphic on television from time to time, and you'll see sports figures. And I know Bob Stoops, when he was a football coach at OU at one time, and some of the other coaches, they would say, I have a little red heart on my license, do you, or something like that. So I guess your spot was really working if I can remember some of the text. I have a red heart on my driver's license, do you? So I just did that as well.
Good job, Steve.
Thank you. How many people nationally are waiting for a transplant or waiting for an organ? And then also the second part of that question, Nita, is bring it closer to home in Oklahoma. How many people in Oklahoma? Do you have some numbers that you could kind of share with our viewers?
I sure do. There are somewhere in the ballpark of 114,000. It's a little more than 114,000 people on the waiting list right now in the United States. And over 600 of those are people in Oklahoma. So the need is great.
So what was the national number again?
It's a little over 114,000.
114,000, wow. So how do folks, this is a real short question, maybe a long answer, but how do folks get involved?
Well, there are many ways to get involved. We have volunteer opportunities. So we have over 200 Oklahomans that are registered to kind of help us with anything from mailers to working events and talking to people about donation. And it's a really great thing because you don't have to have a personal connection to donation, although some of our volunteers do. You can just really be an advocate for what it is that we do and sign up to volunteer. We have a LifeShare Foundation now, so people can actually give monetary contributions to our foundation to help us further our education efforts and our research efforts in Oklahoma. And then, of course, registering and talking to your family about that is the best way for people to get involved with our organization.
Very good. Nita French is our special guest on City Connections from LifeShare Transplant Donor Services of Oklahoma. We've got a few more questions for Nita, and one of them deals with maybe I'm too old to donate, or maybe I'm too young, or I'm too sick or something. We'll address some of those things. Thank you for staying with us on City Connections. We'll have more right after this. Hello again and welcome back to City Connections. My special guest today, Nita French from Oklahoma City, and she's with LifeShare Transplant Donor Services of Oklahoma. And again, we've been talking about the importance of being an organ donor. And again, you can take advantage of that opportunity and they will place a red heart on your driver's license. So, Nita, can an individual be too old? Or what if somebody is, they've been sick for 6 months, 6 years or something, and they're watching the show, and they're thinking, that's a great cause, but I've just been too ill for too long. So too old or too sick?
That's a great question.
How does that fit in? Because there's someone who's thinking, man, I'm 91. What do I have that's, my mother-in-law is 94 years old, and she would probably say, nope, everything I have's wore out.
We hear that a lot from the older community, and actually there isn't a cutoff age. You can't be too old to be a donor.
Okay.
And we have people that say anything from I've had cancer to I have diabetes, any number of things, and none of those things are automatic rule outs. So the best thing to do is just register and then let the doctors determine at the time of your death how your body's doing, what condition your organs and tissue are in.
Very good. So let's bring it back to Oklahoma. How many people are helped each year in Oklahoma? I'm sure you have some
I have a few numbers for you, yes. Okay. And I'm going to be beaming when I tell you this because we're very proud at LifeShare that for the last 4 years we have consecutively beaten the previous year's record. And we are proud of that because that is a great testament to the people of Oklahoma and how giving and selfless they are in saving lives. The last year, 2017, we had 183 people in Oklahoma choose to donate their organs. That resulted in 529 organs transplanted, and that saved 481 lives. Wow. So that is 481 people that are walking around today living a healthy life and being so grateful for it simply because people in Oklahoma made the choice to live on and help other people.
And it's due to the 180 some that you just mentioned,
yes,
willing to do that. Just because I really don't know, and I may have missed it at the beginning. Now, is this strictly an Oklahoma thing? Meaning, if I live in Enid and would donate organs, is it to a recipient in McAllister or Guyman? I mean, does it just stay within the borders of Oklahoma? I'm trying to understand. Or does the kidney go to Nebraska if it needed? How's that work?
That's a very good question, and we get that a lot. So the way that the waiting list works, there are many factors involved in the waiting list, and of course one of the things is how long you've been sick, how long you've been waiting on an organ, and your location in the United States, because we have some organs that can go farther than others. For example, a heart can only be outside of the body for about 6 to 8 hours, so the heart can't go very far. So that's typically going to go to someone in Oklahoma or Texas. We do share organs a lot with Texas because they are so close, and that ends up being a good thing for Oklahomans because the population of Texas is so large. So that's kind of a bigger area that people can maybe get a transplant from. With the kidney, that's actually able to stay outside the body a little longer, and we have something called perfusion pumps that we can put those kidneys in, and so the kidneys can go farther, maybe Florida or Arizona or somewhere like that. The way that the allocation list works is it's pulled up and it shows, like I said, people that are in our area first, in Oklahoma first, and then if there's not someone in Oklahoma that meets the criteria, for example, blood type, body size, tissue type, then the list is expanded to region. And then if there's not someone in the region that is able to accept that organ, then it goes to nation.
Well, it sounds like a very extensive network because, again, if someone's going to go to the trouble to donate an organ, you want to provide the best service possible to distribute the organ or make that awareness. Nita, just a few moments ago you were talking about how you've developed or launched this new foundation. So I want to give you the opportunity to talk further about the foundation, because there may be someone say, well, yeah, I've got my little red heart on my driver's license and I'm all in, if you will, but maybe I could do more. So tell us about the foundation.
We are very excited that we just launched our foundation in October. This is going to open a wide variety of opportunities for us that we didn't have before. So this will enable us to do some fundraising, which will then make us able to return some of that investment to the community. We're hoping to expand our awareness programs and educate more Oklahomans about donation, but also we're hoping to be able to help people who either have received a transplant or are waiting on a transplant. And then the third thing that we're hoping to do with our money from the foundation is to aid in research, because there's so much more that we need to learn about donation and transplantation, and maybe things that we'll be able to do in the future that we don't know yet that we're able to do. So we're hoping that people will either come to a LifeShare Foundation event. We're going to be having a race in November. We're very excited about that, a 5K in Bricktown. And we're going to be having a couple of golf tournaments in April, so people might be interested in coming down to Top Golf and hitting some balls to help raise money for the LifeShare Foundation.
Always needing a reason or excuse to play golf.
Well,
so.
I will make sure that you get an invitation to those.
Please
then.
do. Please do.
On our foundation website, you can see the commercials that we just recently shot in November. We had 6 commercials that we did, and they are of both recipients like me and donor families. And so it's just a way to kind of see a little bit further into how the story goes and kind of see how these people's lives are affected by what we do.
Well, the next topic may be still delicate to some University of Oklahoma football fans. If I mention the Rose Bowl, they'll understand. Man,
you might make me cry, Steve. I don't know that I want to talk about that.
Why couldn't we just? I was really rooting for the Sooners in that game. But anyway, about the Rose Bowl, and we've known the Rose Bowl has been around forever, and the parade in Pasadena in that area with all the flowering floats and everything. But there's an Oklahoma connection, which I didn't know until I started doing some research about LifeShare, organ donating, and the Rose Bowl parade. So tell us about that.
Yes. So Donate Life, the national organ donation organization, has a float in the Rose Parade on New Year's Day every year. And LifeShare is very proud to be a sponsor of that float. So every year we get to send someone who is a recipient of a transplant to ride the float. And then we send a donor family, and they have a photo made out of flowers and nuts and seeds on the float of their loved one, and they get to go out there and see the float and help actually decorate the float and participate in all of the Rose Parade activities. And the last couple of years we've been able to send a living donor, someone who has given an organ while still being alive, and they have been able to walk beside the float. And this is a great opportunity for us to participate in because people don't really think about organ donation. The thing that I've noticed in going out across Oklahoma and speaking to people is it's one of those things people don't want to talk about because then they have to admit they're going to die at some point. So it's kind of like your will or your power of attorney, things people that don't want to do. So when they're watching the Rose Parade on New Year's Day and they see that float go by, hopefully it kind of makes them stop and realize the only reason those people are on the float is because someone saved their life.
Well, I've had the Rose Bowl parade on in the background on New Year's Day, but now I will watch for another particular reason. Well, we want to talk a little bit about the Oklahoma first-person consent law. And if for those under 18, talks a little bit about some ages. So we're going to take a short break, or our final break, I should say, on City Connections. And we'll be back with Nita French, and she'll provide us answer to these very important questions. Thanks for staying with us. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. I hope you're enjoying our show today in regard to donor services. Our special guest, Nita French from LifeShare Transplant Donor Services of Oklahoma, based in Oklahoma City. Nita, what is the Oklahoma's first-person consent law? Well, that's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. And what that means is that when someone over the age of 18 registers to be a donor, whether that be on their driver's license, on some sort of legal document like an advance directive, on our website, any way that they choose to make the decision to save lives, at that point, no one can overturn that decision. So if you are over the age of 18 and you've chosen to give the gift of life, your family cannot change your mind for you. That is our responsibility at LifeShare, is to, of course, uphold the law and to allow people to make the decision to do that if that's what they want to do. So we really encourage people to tell their families when they've made this decision, because we don't want families to be surprised or even upset because they didn't realize that their loved one had made that choice.
Right. The key number that you shared was 18. And I noticed on your website, as we talked about earlier in the program, you have these testimonials from young people that have received donors and also young people that have donated organs. So explain to us how that works if you're under the age of 18.
Absolutely. If you are under the age of 18, you can say that you want to be an organ donor, but you're not giving consent. You're showing intent. You're signing your license showing intent. And what that means is that if something were to happen to you, it is still up to your legal next of kin, typically your parents, to make that decision. So it's important for young people, if they feel really adamant about this, I go out to high schools and I educate them, the high schoolers, on the need to register and kind of let them know how it all works. And if they choose that they want to be an organ donor, they really need to talk to their parents about that, because it will be their decision.
I've certainly enjoyed our visit today, and we haven't covered really everything, but you have a website. It's called LifeShareOklahoma.org. So, Nita, if you go to that website, what are you going to learn? You did say that was one avenue that you can sign up to be an organ donor, but what else would you learn at the website?
Okay, a lot of things. Okay. We have our core purpose, our core values, things like that, kind of what LifeShare does. We have information on donation, all of the different types of organs that can be donated and what those organs do in the body. We have information on tissue that can be donated and what we do with that tissue. We have stories of people who have either received organs or people who have donated their organs and tissue and saved other people's lives. We have, of course, like I said, the volunteer sign up and all kinds of information about things that you can do with LifeShare and all kinds of things that we do to increase awareness.
Nita, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just had this thought. In a minute or less, I want you to address that camera. For some person who is watching this interview and they heard your story about receiving organs, what would you say to that person that is considering being an organ donor? Would you speak to the camera for just a minute or less? Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. There are over 114,000 people right now in the United States who are truly hoping every morning when they get out of bed that that will be the day that someone will save their life. And there really is not one reason for a person not to be an organ donor. So sign up, you can live on, you can leave a bigger legacy than any other thing would do. You can save lives, and you can make someone truly grateful that they get a second chance.
Well said. Nita French, thanks for coming up from the
Thank
city.
you.
Thank you for coming home. And are you going to go over to St. Mary's where you were born?
I'm
Just
not, but I'm
okay.
going to head over to the school and have lunch with my sister.
Very good. Well, you're welcome to come back anytime. Keep us updated on what's going on within LiveShare, Transplant Donor Services of Oklahoma. This has been very interesting, and thank you for sharing your personal story as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for joining us today on City Connections. Hope you enjoyed our story, our interview today about the importance of being an organ donor. And forgive me for saying this, but I have my little red heart on my driver's license. Do you? Thanks for joining us on City Connections. Until next time, make it a great day.